All right, let's dive into some tactics to really boost revenue. We had a request for a deep dive into Alex Goldfyn's revenue growth habit. Looks like someone out there wants to supercharge their sales, but without a gigantic marketing budget, right?
You got it. This book, it's all about practical strategies you can start using right now, no matter what industry you're in or how big your company is.
Yeah, the first thing that really stood out to me was, Goldfyn completely dismantles this whole idea that marketing has to be this huge, expensive thing.
Oh, yeah. It's a really common misconception, and it honestly leads to a lot of businesses just not taking action. They think they need these massive campaigns or like celebrity endorsements to make any sort of impact. But Goldfyn, he argues that it's actually those small, consistent actions that make the biggest difference.
He even says those trendy, super cryptic ads we see everywhere these days, the ones that just leave you confused, they're actually less effective than just having a clear, straightforward message.
It's true. Those ads might get people talking, but they don't always turn into actual sales. Clarity, it's way more important than being clever when it comes to getting that revenue.
So, targeted messaging over spending a ton on campaigns, got it. But how do we actually convince those targeted people that our product or service is actually worth their money? I found it really interesting how much Goldfyn emphasizes using testimonials.
Ah, yeah, testimonials, pure gold for marketing. But so many businesses just don't use them enough. Think about it when you're buying something new. Do you put more trust in a slick, fancy ad or what a friend recommends?
Probably not the ad, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm much more likely to trust a review from someone who's used it, than a company trying to sell me something.
Exactly. Testimonials, they use that power of social proof, and they answer that big question every customer has: why should I even care?
And Goldfyn actually gives this great technique for getting really strong testimonials using what he calls confirming and probing questions. Can you explain that a little?
Absolutely. Let's say you just closed a deal with a client. Instead of just asking for a general testimonial, you could confirm their good experience. Something like, how has our software made your workflow smoother? This gets them thinking about the specific benefits.
So they're thinking about the results they got, not just some vague good feeling.
Exactly. Then you use those probing questions, ones that start with why. Like, you might ask, why is a streamlined workflow so important for your business? It gets the client to really explain the reasons they value your product.
So you're basically helping them give you those really good quotes that speak directly to your target audience. I can see how that would get you much better testimonials than just asking, are you happy?
Right. And then those testimonials, you can put them on your website, brochures, emails. It builds trust with potential customers.
I know we all love how efficient email is, but Goldfyn also points out how important it is to go beyond the digital sometimes and add a personal touch. He even mentions handwritten notes. These days, does that really still work?
It might seem a little strange in this world where we're all connected online all the time, but that's actually why it works. A handwritten note on good stationery, it shows a level of care that a mass email just can't match.
It's like getting a real birthday card instead of just a message on Facebook. It feels so much more personal.
Exactly. And the same thing goes for business. Imagine getting a handwritten thank you from a company. It makes the whole experience better and you feel more connected to them.
He tells this great story about a hotel manager who calls guests after their stay just to thank them and get their feedback. It's such a small thing, but it probably has a huge impact.
Absolutely. Those little personal touches show that you value your customers, that they're not just a transaction. It can really help build loyalty, get people coming back.
Speaking of repeat business, Goldfyn says that even our most loyal customers might only know about some of what we offer, like having a toolbox full of amazing tools and only using the hammer.
It happens all the time. We're so busy getting new customers, we forget about the ones we already have. But think of the potential. If your average customer only knows about 25% of what you offer, you could be missing out on so much revenue from people who already love your company.
So how do we, make sure our customers actually know about all the great things we offer? Goldfyn talks about this hidden revenue idea, which sounds pretty interesting.
It's like you said, hidden treasure, right there in front of you. Goldfyn says the trick is using newsletters, but in a smart way. Not just blasting out promotions, but using them to actually teach your audience something.
But everyone gets so many newsletters already. How do we make ours stand out, from all the clutter?
That's where this formula comes in. Goldfyn calls it article, testimonial, promotion. It's a pretty simple structure, but really powerful for creating a newsletter people actually want to read.
Okay, that order article first, then testimonial, then the promotion. Why not lead with the promotion? Isn't that the whole point?
Well, think about it. You open an email, it's just trying to sell you something. You're probably hitting delete pretty fast. But if it starts with a good article, something that's actually interesting to you, it shows they know what they're talking about, you're more likely to keep reading.
So you're kind of earning their attention first before you ask them for anything. Makes sense. What kind of articles are we talking about here?
It could be anything, as long as it's relevant to your audience, their needs, what they're struggling with. Maybe it's a blog post with some industry insights, a case study showing how your product solved a problem, even just a list of helpful resources. The point is to give them something valuable that makes you look like an expert.
Okay, got it. Hook them with the article. Then we bring in the testimonial. I'm guessing we don't just stick it in anywhere, right?
No, not at all. The testimonial, it should really back up what you said in the article, or maybe show how your product helped someone with the same problem you were talking about. It gives you that social proof, makes your message more convincing.
All right, and finally the promotion. But this isn't just a generic buy now message, is it?
Nope, definitely not. It needs to fit with what the newsletter's about, something the reader would actually be interested in. Could be a discount on a product, a free trial of a new service, or maybe inviting them to a webinar to learn more.
So it's all about providing value the whole way through. That makes sense. Now I'm curious about showcasing your value through webinars and events. Goldfyn even talks about companies flying clients out on private jets. Not sure I have that kind of budget.
Well, yeah, private jets might not be for every business, but the idea behind it is what matters. It's about creating those memorable experiences that strengthen relationships and make a real impression.
It's less about being flashy and more about the thought behind it, making people feel valued.
Exactly. And there are ways to do that without spending a fortune. Maybe it's a tour of your facility, a workshop just for your clients, or even just a small get-together to connect on a more personal level.
I can see how those kinds of events would be great for building loyalty, that sense of community. It's more than just buying and selling, it's a human connection.
And those connections, they're so valuable. They lead to repeat business, good word of mouth, and a better reputation for your brand.
Okay, so we've talked about testimonials, newsletters, events, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to revenue growth, right? How do we measure if these things are actually working? Do we need fancy dashboards and spreadsheets?
This is where Goldfyn's approach is really helpful. He doesn't want you to get bogged down in these big, ambitious goals. He says focus on small wins, things you can actually achieve. He suggests aiming for just a 2% increase in revenue. Might not sound like a lot, but it adds up over time.
Okay, I like that. So let's say I have 100 customers. They each spend $100 a month on average. That's $10,000 in revenue.
Sure.
So a 2% increase, that would be an extra $200.
Exactly. And that extra $200, it could come from anywhere. Maybe you get 2 new customers, or everyone spends just $2 more.
So it's less about hitting one specific number and more about building a system that keeps growing your revenue.
That's it. It's like building a revenue engine, one that's powered by all these strategies we've been talking about.
I have to admit, even with all these great tips, it's still kind of overwhelming. Where do we even start? How do we pick which strategy to try first?
That's where Goldfyn's Act Now idea is so important. Don't get stuck overthinking it. Pick one thing, even a small action, and just do it today.
Like maybe send out a survey to get feedback for testimonials, start outlining your first newsletter, or just brainstorm some ideas for those client appreciation events.
Exactly. Just break down those big goals into smaller steps and get moving. Remember, progress is better than perfection.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling motivated to get started. This feels like a good place to pause for a second. When we come back, we'll look at how these revenue growth ideas can actually be used inside a company to create a really strong culture. Welcome back. I feel like we've uncovered some real gold nuggets here from Alex Goldfyn's revenue growth habit. I mean, it's amazing. These simple strategies can actually make such a big difference to a business.
I know, right? What I like about his approach is it's not about some trick or gimmick. It's about building those real connections and actually giving people something valuable.
Totally. But before we wrap up, you mentioned something pretty interesting before the break, something about using these revenue growth ideas, but internally. I got to hear more about that.
Well, we've been talking about, how to get new customers, make them stick around, and of course, how to increase sales. But what if we took those same ideas, clear communication, building relationships, making things valuable, inspiring action, and use them with our own teams?
I've never even thought about it that way. We're so focused on the outside world, we forget about the potential inside our own companies.
Exactly. Imagine those testimonials, but not just from happy customers. What about employees who love their work and really believe in what the company's doing?
I like that. Instead of just putting those reviews on our website, we could share them internally to get everyone excited and motivated.
Right. And how about internal newsletters? Not just boring announcements, but, stuff that celebrates what teams are achieving, tells employee stories, really reinforces the company culture.
Yeah, like creating that sense of community, everyone working towards the same thing. And instead of just events for clients, we could do team building stuff, awards ceremonies, even workshops to help people learn new skills.
Absolutely. And remember those confirming and probing questions, the ones we talked about for getting good customer testimonials. Well, we could use those with our employees, too, to get feedback and new ideas.
So instead of just telling people what to do, we're actually talking to them, making them feel heard.
Exactly. When employees feel valued and like they matter, they're going to be more engaged, more productive. It's good for everyone.
This has been really eye-opening. It's like we've found this whole new level of potential just by thinking about things a little differently, applying these ideas inside the company too.
It just makes sense, right? A company is only as strong as its people, both the customers and the employees. By building a positive culture, it has this ripple effect. It goes outward to everyone.
That's a great way to put it, the ripple effect.
Yeah.
It really shows how everything's connected. So I guess the big takeaway from this deep dive into the revenue growth habit is it's not just about selling more. It's about building something strong that will last. And that starts with taking care of both your customers and your employees.
Absolutely. And those small, consistent actions, they really do make a difference over time. So pick one thing, take action, and watch those ripples grow.
This has been fantastic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those revenue-boosting ideas coming.